This video is brought to you by Sportland, quality, integrity, and tradition.
Well, today we have a service call on they originally called saying their bar was hot. Now, this restaurant has an energy management system. So what I did was I called the energy management company and I asked them to give me a full call for cooling for the entire building. So this location is about an hour and a half to 2 hours away from my shop. It's out in the middle of nowhere. And I'm gonna check everything while I'm here. Now, I'm not gonna go through everything crazy, but we're gonna focus on the bar AC. But by giving me a full call for cool, I'm able to walk around and see that every AC unit should be running at the moment. Now, this is their bar unit right here. Every AC I've walked around is running except for this one. So we definitely have an issue here. We need to open this guy up and check to see if we have a call for cooling, 24 volts, and see where we're going with that. The rest of the building though, while I'm waiting, I'm gonna run around and I'm gonna start checking TDs on everything. Now, it's gonna be a really hot day today. It's already 93 degrees and it is currently 8:27 a.m. So it's gonna be hot. Now, the weather forecast is calling for about 110, 115, somewhere in there. Realistically, on this roof, I think we're gonna push 120 because you have the PTO membrane, the sun beats down on it, you know, it's gonna get hot. But I'm gonna do a quick check, running around, just checking to see that every AC is calling, and then we'll go from there. So it's interesting because this AC that they're not even complaining about, I saw it running earlier, but it's already shut off and I should have a full call for cool. So we'll have to dive into that in a few minutes. They also said their kitchen was kind of hot. They have an evaporative cooler right here and the pump's not working. So I'll have to look into that. The bearings are also shot on that guy and they're not greasable, but we'll see if we can get a new pump put in it or verify. We'll go through that. But everything else, I checked the ACs. They have decent TDs. This one though, the one that they actually called me about, the bar AC, if we come over here, and we've got a simple circuit here, nothing too crazy. So if we go from R to C, we get 26 volts. Then we go from Y1 to C, 25 volts. So we have a call for cooling. Let's just confirm that our indoor fan is calling too. Yes, okay. We have a call for cooling, nothing's happening. First and foremost, let's check our pressure switches. Low pressure switch is closed. High pressure switch is open. So see, I jumped on the high pressure switch right there. If I can get the camera to focus, there you go. I jumped on the high pressure switch right there, and the high pressure switch is open. So we need to step on over here and see why the high pressure switch is open. We can also just push in the contactor. Condenser fan motor's running. Interesting. So we're probably gonna need to get some service gauges and evaluate this system a little bit further. Let's open it up and see if we have a manual reset high pressure control in here. If we come over here, we have a manual reset high pressure control. There we go. It's on and running. Let's put the cover on and see if it trips the high pressure control again. Condenser fan motor seems to be moving. We'll get a thermometer over here and then we'll also get some gauges on it and see what happens. All right, we are fully probed up. Everything's on there. It's kind of hard for you guys to see because of the glare right now, but we've got all the different probes. So high, low. Now, unfortunately, we got a probe on the discharge line to get subcooling, so it is gonna be a skewed number. I expect to see around 16 to 20 degrees, somewhere in there when you're using discharge pressure. Suction line temperature clamp, liquid line temperature clamp coming out of the dryer. I prefer that. That way you can see weird restriction problems. Discharge line clamp, outside air, all that good stuff. So now I had shut off the unit. We need to go over and jumper it out now. We are running. So let's get our, let it stabilize out and then we'll test the system to see what's going on. I mean, we are right on the money of where we should be. Subcooling 19 degrees, superheat 4.6 degrees. We're calling for what? 5 degrees superheat because it's target superheat. We have a fixed orifice metering device on this. It's a carrier actuator. Head pressure is right where I'd expect it to be. Let's scroll over. Outdoor air is 99 degrees right now. Everything's looking good. Discharge is in range. Temperature split 19.5 degrees. Airflow's fine. We are on the money on everything that we should be doing. Look at my latent load. Shows you how dry it is outside. Let's see. Yeah. I mean, we are doing great. So, my next step is to start checking current draw on things that can cause high head pressure. Now, I can see right through this condenser. I can see light in multiple places through it, so I don't think we have a dirty condenser. I will give it a rinse just because I'm here, but let's go ahead and check my motor current on my fan. I believe we're allowed to run right at 1.7 amps. We're right there. That's not bad. Let's go ahead and power down and test that capacitor. So if we come over to our capacitor, it is a 5 microfarad capacitor, and we are getting 4.6. And this is plus or minus 6%, so we are just out of spec. 4.7 would be the lowest, and we are right there. So, I'm thinking that maybe the condenser fan motor is stalling out. Now, where I'm at, we really don't have a problem with capacitors very much out here. It's not very common. What we do have a problem with, and I know this is right there, but I'm very reluctant, especially 2 hours away from anywhere, civilization, to change just the capacitor. I'm gonna go ahead and call around and see if I can find a condenser fan motor. This one's right on the money of amping where it's supposed to, but the capacitor's out of spec. We went off on high pressure. I'm gonna talk to the customer and get their opinion on the matter, but I'm gonna highly recommend that they let me go ahead and replace this motor and the capacitor. And then go from there. I went ahead just for giggles and rinsed the condenser, and then very important is we're rinsing all around the unit, getting all the loose dirt, because that dirt will dry up and suck right back onto that condenser. So do your best to kind of squirt around the unit a little bit, get most of the big stuff out of the way, and then that way you prevent, you know, it from getting so dirty so quick. Now, we are out in the desert, we have a lot of sand and stuff here, so it's kind of inevitable that it's gonna get dirty, but we're gonna give it our best effort here to clean some of this stuff, and then I'll go down and talk to the customer and get their opinion on which direction we should go. Now, I wanna kind of talk a little bit about this, you know. It could just be a capacitor issue, but again, you have to take into account how far away we are from civilization, and what their guests mean to them, you know, like, because if they called me, you know, tonight, I probably can't get back out here till tomorrow, right? So, you know, it's like, man, if, you know, instead of just changing a capacitor, it's like, yeah, I'd really suggest they let me change that whole motor and just be done with it. I'm not seeing any other issues, anything else that could potentially cause it to go off on high head pressure. Condenser, I could see through it when I got here. I rinsed it just because it was dusty, but all is well. I mean, it's looking really good. Now, granted, right now, head pressure's really low. If I can get it to focus, because we got a wet condenser, but, you know, I mean, for the most part, I really don't see anything else wrong here. Everything is looking really good. Really good. So, yeah, let's go talk to the customer and see what they say. All right, I got the customer's approval and I made it back. We're gonna swap out this motor real quick. I did want to say that I really appreciate having this multi-bit driver in my bag. It allows me to consolidate everything. It's the Klein 32900 is what it says on there, and it's a multi-bit. The 1130 seconds is one of the most underrated things when it comes to condenser fan motors and stuff. I picked this one up from TrueTechTools.com. If you go to their website and use my offer code BIGPICTURE, you can get a 8% discount on checkout on most of their items, and I get a small commission, so it's a cool way to help to support the channel if you're interested in doing so. So I'm going to swap out this motor. I've had the unit running the entire time. I did notice when I came back that the motor was running right above the recommended RLA, so I think it was, what was it, like 1.7, whatever it was like right at the max. So earlier it wasn't, and now it is. So anyways, but we're gonna swap it out. All right, a couple things. I was actually incorrect. That motor was like at 1.6, 1.7. I couldn't see the data plate off the old motor, so I went over to another unit and assumed it was the same motor over there, and it wasn't. So this thing is actually allowed to run 1.5 amps. This is the same brand as this one right here. So this guy was overamping. So I went and pulled it open. First off, these bearings are really tight on each side, okay? And then look at the sand that's gotten in here, and then look at the overheating that's been happening. This guy's definitely done. It's hotter than you know what too. But trust your gut. If your gut tells you to change things, I didn't even know about opening that up until I got back, but yeah, I'm glad I changed it. So it's back up and running. We're gonna let it run for a few minutes, make sure everything's good with it. And I'm just gonna start cleaning up, and then I gotta go over and change the water pump on that swamp cooler over there. All right, one last little peek at this guy while it's still running and still connected. So pressures are looking okay. Superheat, subcooling about where I'd expect it to be. Outdoor air temperature is 113, 112. That's fine. Temperature split is a little bit on the low side at the moment, but let's give it a minute because I did just open up the filter section to put my probe on it. So, but yeah, I'm liking this. Head pressure's not too high, about 129 saturation. So it's less than 30 degrees over ambient, so that's pretty good. Yeah, I mean, everything's looking, I'm not too concerned about much here. Look, I have like no latent load right now. That's how dry it is outside. That's crazy. Yeah, so I'm pretty confident that we are doing good. Let's look at the last thing right here. Where is my, yeah, we'll give it just a minute and let it catch up because I still haven't, yeah, temp split's coming up now, 17.2. So it's just gonna take a minute. But yeah, this guy's good. The contactor looks decent. I don't see any problems with that. I'm gonna clean up my messes and like I said, get over to that evaporative cooler over there.
I can't stress it enough. Trust your gut, okay? I'm assuming that you're a technician that has experience. These are the people that I'm talking to. If you're a newer person, if you haven't been in the trade for very long, you need to make sure that you fall back and ask questions, get other people's opinions, make sure that, you know, they agree with your diagnoses. But, you know, when I go in there, I'm like looking at this going, you know, it could be just a capacitor, right? That could be the problem. But what happens when I leave? Right? What happens when I leave this customer? They want this unit to work. They don't want me to try to put a part on it, then drive 2 hours back, right? Then drive 2 hours back and charge them again to come out to go through it, right? They want it fixed the first time. So we need to be thorough, okay? And in this situation, I told everything to the customer. Hey, here's the deal. Capacitor's out of spec, but I really, really think we should change the whole motor. And the reason why I say that, they get really, really high ambient temperatures out there. For a good amount of the summer, we go through condenser fan motors. They're almost a consumable item when it comes to these units, okay? They're not made with the highest quality, and they just are constantly running, getting extremely hot inside. They just completely destroy themselves from the inside out. You saw the sand on the stator. Like, they're really bad, okay? So, you know, again, I'm used to this in my area. Now, if you're in another area that doesn't have fan motors fail all the time, well, then of course you're gonna, you know, be a little reluctant to be throwing a fan motor at something like this. But I'm telling you, these parts go like crazy. The number one item that we change on this rooftop is condenser fan motors, 100%, especially out in the desert. I change condenser fan motors left and right every single summer. We're going through them like crazy. You know, if there was better motors, sure. But I prefer putting in the OEM because it's just easier for the next guy. If I send another technician out here, he's not trying to unwire things and then I don't have to, or, you know, try to figure out wiring and whatever. If I put in aftermarket motors, they'll certainly work. I don't know if they would last any longer, but they will certainly work. And, you know, but then you have the potential of people leaving the, excuse me, mid-closing sentence. I'm yawning over here. Go figure, right? How rude was that? If I made you yawn, leave me a comment. But I worry about like using the aftermarket motors because people tend to leave the reverse wires sticking out the top of the condenser shroud. And I don't like any of that stuff. So I just like to go back with OEM. You don't got extra wires. Nobody's doing any funny business. Nobody has the potential to mess anything up. You got 3 wires coming out of the motor. Super easy. So that's just the way that I do things. If you do it differently, it's all good. I'm not judging you for that, right? But, we got to think big, especially when we're out in locations that are far away like this. This customer doesn't want to have to pay me to come back out. So if I'm there and I notice other things, they're like, please fix it. You're here. We don't have to pay you another 2 hours to drive out here, kind of a thing, right? Because I charge them travel. So, it's better when I'm there. If I have time, let's just get it done. So I, had the energy management company turn every AC on, went through all the ACs, made sure they were all working, found a bad pump on the evaporative cooler. Also, I've got a new evaporative cooler for him. I talked the customer into letting me replace that cooler because it was really old, needs new bearings. The inside of it, the doors are completely rotted away. And it's actually sitting behind my shop right now for whatever reason. That evaporative cooler took 4 months to get. Oh my gosh, man. For an evaporative cooler, it took forever. But we're going to be installing that soon too. So, hey, you know what? But I can't stress enough, big picture, let's solve the problem, not just the symptom, right? I really appreciate you making it to the end of the video. If you haven't already, please consider checking out my website, hvacrvideos.com. That's where you can find these hats for sale. We also have dad hats. So for like the people that have small heads, small foreheads, I'm fortunate enough to have a giant forehead, so I can only wear certain hats because they don't fit me right. So like for instance, when I try to put this guy on right here, it just, I don't know, it just doesn't fit me. My head, it's like falling off my head. It's slowly creeping off my head. Like it just doesn't fit me right. So but we have those dad hats. We have flat bill hats right here. If you like the flat bill, they all have the black underbill. The flat bill hat is a snapback, but it's still a flex fit. It's really kind of cool. So still flex fit, but it has the snapback. And then this is the hat that I've worn for years. Black underbill, flex fit, all the way around. Just the HVACR acronym on it. Just a great way to help support the channel. We've got new merchandise coming soon too, so stay tuned. Again, hvacrvideos.com. A couple other ways to help support the channel, but the easiest way is simply just watch the videos from beginning to end. That really is the easiest way. If you want to go to truetechtools.com, you find some tools you like on there. You can use my offer code BIGPICTURE. When you use my offer code, you get an 8% discount on majority of the items on their website, and then I get a small commission from that. So it's a great way to help support the channel. And then there's also PayPal, Patreon, and YouTube channel memberships, which there's links in the show notes of the video. Again, just another great way to help support the channel. So I really do appreciate you, and we will catch you on the next one.